Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, a US admiral warns of a big war coming and claiming that what happens here in Ukraine is just a warm-up. I think that could be true. It depends if the US leadership wakes up and realizes that that's where the whole thing is going to end up. So this article comes from the Jerusalem Post. It's from today, November 6th, 2022. Ukraine war, a quote-unquote warm-up. The big one is coming, and US behind in nuclear, Admiral warns. The US Stratcom had warned that China and Russia are outcompeting America in the nuclear arena, losing deterrence. The war in Ukraine is a prelude to greater military challenges to the US in the near future, and America is losing its competitive edge in nuclear weapons capabilities. US Strategic Command head Admiral Charles Richard warned in a speech at the Naval Submarine League's 2022 annual symposium and industry update on Wednesday, the US Defense Department reported, and I'm quoting, "This Ukraine crisis that we are in right now, this is just a warm-up," end quote, said Richard. And I'm quoting again, "The big one is coming, and it isn't going to be very long before we're going to get tested in ways that we haven't been tested in a long time. As I assess our level of deterrence against China, the ship is slowly sinking," end quote, US Strategic Command head Admiral Charles Richard. Nuclear competition with Russia and China. Richard warned that the US was losing its nuclear deterrence against competitors like China and Russia. And I'm quoting, "As I assess our level of deterrence against China, the ship is slowly sinking," he said. "It is sinking slowly, but it is sinking, as fundamentally they are putting capability in the field faster than we are. They are putting capability in the field faster than we are." In its October 27 National Defense Strategy paper, the Pentagon also presented a dire situation in the nuclear balance between the US and Russia and China. And I'm quoting, "Our principal competitors continue to expand and diversify their nuclear capabilities to include novel and destabilizing systems, as well as non-nuclear capabilities that could be used to conduct strategic attacks," said the Nuclear Posture Review. And I'm quoting again, "They have demonstrated a little interest in reducing their reliance on nuclear weapons. By contrast, the United States is focused on the timely replacement of legacy fielded systems that are rapidly approaching their end of service life. China seeks to possess at least 1,000 deliverable warheads by the end of 2030. And Russia intends to deploy 1,550 START treaty-limited warheads on delivery vehicles." And I'm quoting again, "The People's Republic of China is the overall pacing challenge for US defense planning and a growing factor in evaluating our nuclear deterrent. The People's Republic of China has embarked on an ambitious expansion, modernization and diversification of its nuclear forces and established a nascent nuclear triad," said the Nuclear Posture Review. "Russia," I'm quoting again, "continues to emphasize nuclear weapons in its strategy, modernize and expand its nuclear forces, and brandish its nuclear weapons in support of its revisionist security policy," end quote. Well, we have here Sabrina Singh, Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary, expressed more confidence regarding the competition China presented in a press briefing on Friday, and I'm quoting, "I think we feel very confident in our capabilities when it comes to China, or just generally in the Indo-Pacific.
She said the Secretary Richard laid out in his national defense strategy that China remains our pacing challenge. We know that in order to compete with China, we are doing more when it comes to our own readiness and our own exercises. But I think we definitely are monitoring things that are happening in the Indo-Pacific and remain ready to act if needed. This Ukraine crisis that they're in right now, this is just the warm-up. The big one is coming. So they need to do some changes here. Otherwise, China is simply going to outcompete us, and Russia isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So they're claiming that somehow Russia and China are, at least China is outcompeting United States of America, and guess what United States of America needs to do? Build more weapons, modernize its capabilities, and so on. So the big one is coming. I don't think a big one is coming as long as United States is willing to share. If United States is not willing to share and is willing to try to keep everybody down, in this case China and Russia, then of course it will be challenged with any means necessary. Russia did not say, Russia in its nuclear weapons doctrine has no offensive doctrine of using or points in using their nuclear weapons. All its doctrine is defensive. It's not the same thing, I think, with other countries, if you know what I mean. When there is, if their interests are, you know, how should I say it nicely, hurt or touched or damaged, they could use them. The thing is, the country that would be probably forced to threaten with the nuclear weapons is the losing country, and I think the losing country in this one will be eventually, I think, United States of America, because it must lose some, or it will lose some of its influence. Why? Not because United States is necessarily declining, which I think it is, but I think the other ones are growing, and not only growing but challenging the United States' hegemony. United States lost its support. If you look at the United States support is a few countries in Europe, not a whole Europe. They look at the monolithic West, but they're not. Then you have Australia that needs the United States being shitless scared of China somehow. Then you have New Zealand, obviously. You have Japan, again, all this, and South Korea, the countries that are scared by the boogeyman. Instead of trying to cooperate, yes, you have weapons and you have friends and alliances, but cooperate. These ones, I'm talking about the United States and its little clique of, I don't know, hyenas, I would call them. They are not willing to share anything yet. And they are using the same tactic that worked in the past 30 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, which is threats and blackmail and regime change and straight bombarding. If you don't do what they say, and they want to keep you that way, who would like to be kept in that position? Moreover, when you already have the capability to strike back in the same way, I mean, with the same weapons. I don't think that's a logical course of events. I mean, I can punch you in the face as good as you can punch me, and I should just be your subordinate. I don't think so. So if United States will get the point where it says, if you enter this sphere of influence, that means attacking our allies, which means we can use nuclear weapons, yeah, I think that could happen. But in the meantime, there is Taiwan, there is South Korea or North Korea, however you want to take it, that's two. Then you have Iran, then you have Syria, then you have Kosovo, then you have right now Ukraine, you will have Georgia. These are just a few countries where proxy wars will happen or could happen, definitely. And the same, as I said, the common denominator of all this is United States of America. the other actors are various other actors like China, Russia, Iran, but mainly China and Russia. And you have North Korea, then you have Serbia. All these are under the umbrella of China or Russia after all, but you have the same common denominator to all this, all of them, and that's the United States of America. Thank you very much for being with me again today. And when they will be willing to share, the big war could be avoided. If they will not share, well, we're getting that way straight. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.